In this lesson, we'll cache, download, archive, and restore a Fusion 360 project. After completing this lesson, you'll be able to set up a project to be backed up locally, use archive on a project, restore an archived project, and download and export a design. Now we want to talk a little bit more about caching a project, downloading and archiving, and even restoring a project in Fusion 360. To do this, we're going to start by navigating to the top of our data panel and creating a new project to do this with. I'm going to simply call this Project for Archive. The current file I have open is utility knife import v1. You can do this with any file, but I want to simply make sure that I have a file in this project. So with this file, I'm going to either go to Save As, or we can navigate to its location in the data panel, in this case inside of our Course 1 Week 2 folder, and I can right-click on it and create a copy. When I create a copy, I'll be prompted to select a new location. In this case, I'm going to go to Project for Archive and create that copy. Using the Save As option is nice because it gives you the option to rename the file at the same time. When we create a copy, the name is going to be the same, simply in its new location. Now that we have our project to archive, I do want to note again that we do have settings for these projects, and inside of our settings option, we can do things like sort, change the display, but at the very bottom, we have the option to cache this project and view offline cache. When you set a project to create an offline cache, what you're doing is you're telling it that anytime you're working with this project, you want to create a local file that can be used in case you get disconnected. Now, if you're working on a file and you happen to lose your internet connection, that's fine. The file stays open. You can continue working. Any saves will be made locally, and when you're reconnected, the file will automatically be updated. The local cache allows you to view these files and work with them offline if you happen to need to. Now that we've created an offline cache, we can also view that offline cache. What this means is it'll show us the files in the data panel that are cached offline. I'm going to turn this option off as we're connected to the internet right now. From here, we want to talk about these projects inside of our Fusion team and how we can do things such as download, archive, and restore them. When we're working on a file in Fusion 360, we can right-click on it and we can do things such as adding it to an offline cache. We can create copies, we can create milestones, which are comments that are added to specific points in time in the file. We can also import a new version of this file. We can create public links, but there's no option to export or save this file. If we have the file open, we can click on Bodies or Components, and we can export them from here. In this case, we could specifically export the blade. We could save it as an STL file or save a copy, or we can go to our File dropdown and select Export. We can export this locally as an F3D file or as several other types of files. But if we're working with it online, we can also do the same thing. We can select the project or we can select the specific file to view online. By expanding the version, we can view the details on the web. When we view the details on the web, there are several different things that we can see. Comments in the file, any other references such as if this file is used in another location or a drawing, if we've created a share link, and we can even view the file on the web. When we select View, it opens up our view of this version. We can rotate it around, we can make comments, we can take a look at the design. We can also go back to the overview. Note that when we're inside of the view, we can select to edit in a browser or edit on the desktop. We can also add comments, we can select Share to create a share link, or we can download it directly from here. This option allows us to export again as a Fusion archive file or as several other different types of files, such as an Inventor or intermediate files such as IGES or STEP. If we go back to the top level of the project, we can also select files here. Note this file is currently in use on the desktop, and we can export it from here as well. Again, we see the same types of files: Fusion Archive, Inventor, IGES, and so on. Note that we can also do things such as copy. We could delete it if it wasn't currently in use, but this file is in use, so that's not an option. We also have a drop-down that allows us to do things like edit, copy, rename, and share. In this case, we want to talk about archiving a project. And to do that, we need to close the file in Fusion 360. So we'll close the Fusion 360 file and then go back to the web. Once the file is closed and things are updated, we can navigate back to the top level so we can see our project for archive. From here, you can see that the type is a project. We can see any notifications. We can pin it to the top if we wish. And then we have a drop-down on the far right. The drop-down allows us to archive the project or transfer it to another hub. If you're moving files between one team hub and another, or if you're moving them from your personal hub to a team hub, you can use this transfer option, or you can use a transfer wizard. In this case, we're going to be archiving this project. You'll note that when we select Archive Project, that we have a prompt telling us that this means members can't access the project anymore, any content will not be available, new content cannot be added to the project and its contents will no longer appear in the project list, which is in our data panel. So we're going to select Archive, and note that now the project is no longer seen here. We can view just pinned projects, we can view them all, or we can go to our Archive section and see any projects that have been archived. Once a project has been archived, it will be removed from the All section, and it also will be removed from our data panel. Let's go back into Fusion 360 and check. If we go back to the top level, once this has been restored, notice that it's no longer viewed here. We can't see that archived project anymore because it's simply just hidden from view. If we go back into our team hub and back to our archive section, we can restore it or delete it from here. Once we restore it, now we have our project for archive. It's back. The design is back. We can go back into Fusion 360 and we can open up that information. So this is a way that we can help control and manage these projects. If you're starting to collaborate with users and you're a little unsure about the admin settings or permissions or roles, you can always create a new project. You can copy or make a copy of your files in that project to play around with collaboration. You can invite somebody to that project from your team hub and make sure that they're set as an editor and not as an admin. That way they'll only have access to that project and they'll only be able to work with those files inside of that project. This is a great first step to collaboration once you get comfortable with the admin settings and creating those projects as closed, open, or private. You'll be a little bit more comfortable with these settings and make sure you know exactly how your data is being accessed.